What up, cucks? It's your boy, the Hater, up in this pace, and it's time for yet another episode of Hater Outdoors. That's right, Hater Outdoors, in the middle of the day today, you know what I mean? I got to thinking today, which is the day after Bad Blood, about what happened in Bad Blood. And if I had to summarize it in a sentence, I would say this: a bunch of nonsense happened, and then The Rock saved the day. So that's going to be the theme of this video. The importance of The Rock in the current wrestling product. The Rock, a man in his 50s, I think, at this point, is here to once again save wrestling from the horseshit that it has become. It's almost like his presence in Bad Blood is what made the show decent. And it's almost like the last time we saw The Rock until now, nothing has really happened, right? Like Roman Reigns has come back, but even that was deflated with The Rock's return, right? At this point, like Roman Reigns has been so, I don't want to say mistreated because he's probably in on it, right? But he's been booked so poorly that I don't give a shit about him at all anymore, right? He's no longer a great superstar, even by comparison at this point, because he made like 3-4 appearances, and then The Rock came, and then we all remembered simultaneously at how much better The Rock is than everybody else around. So you can almost think of this as a large, medium, small problem, right? On one hand, we have the very small Jacob Fatu, who, despite being a small guy, compared to everybody else, I mean, is treated like he's Kane. Like, if you put Kane and Jacob Fatu in the ring, right, you would be like, oh, what is this? Is Kane wrestling the Hurricane, who now has dreadlocks? That's what everyone would assume. Because it's like, he's like the size, he's like 6'2", just like the Hurricane, I think, was like, probably like 6'1" or something, you know what I mean? This guy is small, and as a result, doesn't look like a star. Now, it's not just his size, right? Because Rey Mysterio is small, but he has star power because he looks unique, and he does cool shit, right? Jacob Fatu doesn't do any of this. So he is the small in this equation. Then you've got the mediums, right? Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes are medium-sized dudes. Now, again, of course, in real life, Jacob Fatu is a big guy, right? But in wrestling, he's a small guy. You can cut it however you want, but the reality is this. Like, if you had Kane versus Jacob Fatu, like, imagine if you had them in a real fight. It's like, you would be like, it would only take Kane like 12 seconds to completely end this guy's life. Oh, Hater, but he's Samoan and he was in prison. It doesn't matter. None of that shit matters when you have to fight a 7'9" monster called Kane. None of that shit matters at all, right? Jacob Fatu is basically a regular guy. I'm not even gonna count like the extra smalls, like fucking Tama Tonga and Solo Sikoa. Also, he's like a small medium, you know what I mean? A schmedium. What is this guy, right? Then you got like the medium guys, you know, Roman Reigns and Cody. Roman Reigns was lean, he looked good, but I couldn't help but think, cuckolds, that basically at WrestleMania when The Rock came out, he was visibly enormous compared to these guys, right? It's almost like, what the hell's The Rock doing here? Where the hell are Stone Cold and Triple H, or Batista at least? Bring these guys back so The Rock can have like a meaningful match. You know, do The Rock versus Brock Lesnar, it would be believable. You know, nobody wants to see these tiny dudes anymore. Now, it's not just the size of these guys that is a problem. It's also their presence. It's undeniable that Roman Reigns has presence, right? Undeniable. He's got a good look. He's got a good reaction. You know, Roman Reigns is a solid wrestler. However, in my personal opinion, since WrestleMania, his stock has gone down significantly. Now, part of that is because he lost the title, right? But another part of that is because he hasn't done anything, right? And you can see in the way that the booking was done that Roman Reigns is presented as being beneath The Rock, right? The Rock only needs to make one appearance. He's The Rock, right? That's it. You are now graced with The Rock's presence. And when Roman Reigns comes out, he gets some reactions, then he gets his ass beat and leaves for 4 months. Or for 4 weeks, I should say, right? That's not going to happen to The Rock. The Rock's not going to come there and get his ass beat. You know what I mean? Because, quite frankly, it's just not believable. Like, it's not believable that even at 50, that The Rock would have any problems dispatching the rest of this knockoff bloodline, right? It's just not believable. You know what I mean? And that's where the real size comes into play. But irrespective of the real size, you know, The Rock feels like a superstar, right? Nobody can deny this. This is like not deniable. It never has been, but certainly now he feels like a mega star. He feels like 10 Hulk Hogans because the comparison point has been lowered, right? Hulk Hogan felt like a massive star when he got into the ring with The Rock. But he didn't necessarily completely overshadow The Rock. He was still in there with a massive star, right? Now, and of course, people like Hulk Hogan more back then, but now it's not even close. Like, I don't understand how anyone could cheer for Cookie Rhodes or Roman Reigns, let alone for Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu when The Rock is there. Like, if The Rock wanted to, right, he could come out. He won't do it out of respect, but if he wanted to, he could come out, just cut one promo, Jacob Fatu, and that's it. Jacob Fatu is now going to be teaming up with, like, fucking whatever, like the fourth guy in the no quarter catch crew. You could just put him with Axiom for all I care, right? The Rock could just bury this guy in one promo and nobody's going to give a shit about Jacob Fatu ever again. Like, The Rock could just say, like, anything that he said about anybody else about Jacob Fatu, and that's it. The aura is gone because Jacob Fatu has minimal aura, as the kids would say, right? None of these guys really have what it takes, right? And the truth is, the hard truth is, and someone got mad at me for this because I'm like, I think Val Venus would beat up Roman Reigns in his prime. I really do believe that. They're like, Roman Reigns can bench 450. Okay, great. I don't know how much Val Venus could bench. I bet you it's a shitload because he was jacked. You know what I'm saying? He never got the credit he deserves for his physique. I know what some of you are thinking. Oh, it's a hater video. Of course, Val Venus is going to be mentioned. But it's like, I'm talking about a lot of the guys back then. Like, The Godfather, Bull Buchanan. Like you think Roman Reigns can beat up Godfather and Bull Buchanan in their primes? Absolutely not, motherfuckers. These guys are like 6'8", you know? 6'8" tough guys. You know, or like the Big Boss Man, rest in peace. You know, the point I'm trying to make is that, you know, and nobody really says this, but the reality is that if Roman Reigns were around in the Attitude Era, he might have like a, you know, a run here and there, but quite frankly, in my personal opinion, he wouldn't really cut it. He just really wouldn't cut it because if you put him against The Rock with his personality versus The Rock's personality, or against Stone Cold, or against like anybody else, like at best during the Attitude Era, he would be like like a lower level Triple H, right? And I know that Triple H has been retconned into being this legendary wrestler. And he did eventually become that in a different time when there were fewer wrestlers of that caliber, right? But during the Attitude Era, Triple H was like, I mean, he was the champion, but it was all like storyline stuff. Like, he was never over to that point, right? It wasn't until he got injured and came back that he was over for like a month and a half. Then he dropped the title to Hulk Hogan, right? Back then it was like, yo, we're going to put it on the best guy, you know, or the best guy that the story fits. Roman Reigns may have had a title run here or there, but he honestly wouldn't be a massive star. Absolutely not. You know what I mean? And that speaks not only to him, but to the level of competition, right? Because there would come a point where you can't feasibly put Roman Reigns in a match against the Godfather, and Roman's like 6'2", 6'3", Godfather's like 6'8", and have him beat the Godfather, right? Like, everybody was bigger and looked more intimidating than Roman Reigns. Now, Roman Reigns is still a megastar, don't get me wrong, because things change. And, you know, the archetype of the superstar changes as well, right? But people like Cody Rhodes, he could still be a decent mid-carder. Like, present-day Cody Rhodes could be a decent mid-carder, literally trading wins and losses with the likes of Val Venus, like, straight up, you know what I mean? Like, that's how I see him, you know? But, like, Jacob Fatu, this guy would never make it to the roster. You know, or he would be a comedy character. Tama Tonga, Camacho, these guys would never have a job if this happened back then, right? You know, and this can be seen by the fact that their fathers, right, who had the same general idea of a gimmick, were complete jobbers. I don't care what they tell you now. Oh, like the Samoan SWAT team or whatever the fuck they were called. Oh, Haku was a big deal. No, he wasn't. These were like undercard nobodies, right? Rikishi had like one push, and then he became an undercard nobody, just there to put over the likes of John Cena, you know what I mean? And Val Venus, might I add, right? So this is how the cookie crumbles, right? The Rock is a true superstar, and the other people involved in this program simply are not. It's as simple as that. Now, you can live in denial all you want, right? But the reality is, nobody cares about any of these people, right? Roman Reigns had the potential because the booking was calling for it, right? If Roman Reigns came back, right, and wasn't booked like a bitch, basically, because I don't like the way he's been booked. Roman Reigns comes back, he gets his ass beat, and then he has to enlist the help of Cody Rhodes. You know? There was no need for that. It should have just been him and Jimmy if it's going to be like that, number one. Number two, in my opinion, it should have been just him, right? There is no more, you know, bloodline. It's just me, Oos, He should have done what Jey Uso did, but done it by himself straight up. Like gone there and just beaten up like all of these jobbers one by one. Like here's what should have happened. Roman Reigns comes back on, episode 1, let's say, of SmackDown. By episode 2, in the main event, he just squashes Tama Tonga. The next episode, he just squashes Tonga Loa. In the next episode, he squashes Jacob Fatu. And at the pay-per-view, he squashes, maybe a competitive squash, against Solo Sikoa. And that should have been as long as this bullshit lasts. Then The Rock comes out, right? That's perfect. Like, you tell me how my booking isn't superior, right? Once Roman Reigns defeats everybody in this new bloodline, right, there is only one left, the final boss, at least with respect to the bloodline. If you wanted to have him defeat Cody Rhodes and take the title back right now, you could do that too. That's not really important anymore. The WWE title is completely meaningless with Cody Rhodes, especially now that The Rock is back. Like the belt that The Rock came with, the Brahma Bull belt, is automatically superior to the belt that Cody Rhodes holds. And obviously, it goes without saying, the belt that Gunther holds is completely meaningless and nobody cares about it at all. It's like worth less than the US title, in my opinion. So, as far as I'm concerned, forget the Ulafala, forget the world title, forget the world heavyweight title, forget like the goofy Saudi Arabia title. The only thing that matters now, there's only one title that matters, and that's the Brahma Bull belt, because that belongs to the final boss. That belongs to the last star in wrestling. The last world champion that matters, basically, that is still around. Nobody else cares about any of these guys. Like, I don't care if Cody Rhodes main events 19 WrestleManias. And here's how I know. Roman Reigns has main evented like 6 WrestleManias, and nobody's giving a shit. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's cared at all, like people pretend to care. But keep in mind, it just it hasn't been that good. Now that The Rock is back, finally we can get a hero that we can actually cheer for. Or boo, it doesn't matter. The point is, things are better now that The Rock is here because he truly is a star. He acts like a star. He carries himself as a star. He is a star. People know who the fuck he is. And I'll end with this. In the words of one of the greatest, Big Papa Pump, Scott Steiner, he said this about AJ Styles and Samoa Joe. And he said, AJ, if you go back to your little town in Georgia, you walk down Main Street with a billboard saying AJ Styles, around your neck, he's like, everybody would say, who the hell is that guy, right? Same thing with Samoa Joe. He's like, if Samoa Joe goes back to the Isle of Samoa, everyone's gonna say, who's the fat ass, right? Nobody knows who these people are. The Rock is a real megastar. I hope that after his match, they just give him like one promo. I just want to see one promo, The Rock at LA Knight. That's what I want to see, because that could put LA Knight over massively. But beyond that, I don't think The Rock has anything else to do here. Just do your thing, do your WrestleMania, and move on. Because as far as I'm concerned, this whole intermission year, which is what I'm gonna call it now, this whole middle year of Cody Rhodes' mandatory title reign is just a waste of time. It's just a waste of time. Nobody cares. Like, as soon as Cody Rhodes won the title, everyone that understands wrestling was like, okay, fantastic. Now we have to tolerate a year of this nonsense until The Rock and Roman Reigns happens at Mania, right? But since that time, because you have to wait a year, Roman Reigns' stock has plummeted as far as I'm concerned. He doesn't feel like a champion anymore. Him and Cucky barely beat the bloodline. They needed Jimmy Uso. This should be a squash match. But I digress. And here's why it should be a squash match. I'll say this will be the last of it. In 2 WrestleManias, right? Like this WrestleMania, Solo Sikoa might have a match. But in 2 WrestleManias, Solo Sikoa will be in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Mark my words. Him and Jacob Fatu will be either a tag team or they will be in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. You understand me? They're not going to be these massive stars, right? And even in that Battle Royal, they'll probably lose like Obafemi or something. You know what I mean? These guys are not massive stars. So in a few years, when Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu are jobbing to fucking like, I don't know, an up-and-coming wrestler like Tony D'Angelo when he debuts, when that happens, right, or Alexis King, when they're jobbing to him, then you have to, in your mind, think, wow, these guys at one point were a threat to Roman Reigns, who by that point will probably be gone. And so will Cody. He'll be 1 foot out of the door. They already are. They already are 1 foot out of the door. They wrestle once every like 5 months. So there you have it, Cucks. We're thankful that The Rock is back, and that's really all there is to say about that, Cucks.